Hey. HQ back at it again. When the government tells you not to believe your eyes, right? Before we play these press conferences, it's just going to be about the press conferences, right? Every one of us understands the difference between waiting for facts and being told what to believe. We know the difference instinctively. One feels very careful, and the other feels like they're trying to control us. What happened here crosses the line, though, on these two press conferences. We'll see the differences, right? What we're being asked to do is not to wait for the verdict, not to wait for the evidence, not to wait for everything that comes in. It's to forget what we saw, accept a finished story, a finished product that the White House, the Trump administration wants to put out for us, DOJ, and move on. Even though the evidence is incomplete and the video is public, right? That should bother a lot of damn people. That should bother a lot of people that they don't want us to wait for the evidence. They want to give us the evidence and make us believe it. This should bother many a person, specifically across the political spectrum, Democrat and Republican, because this is not about policy. Okay? This is about whether reality still matters once power gets to speak. Once you tell me what I'm supposed to think, then I'm not really thinking at all. So let's start with Tim Walz and what Tim Walz had to say about this.
I'm joined by Attorney General Ellison, Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson, Minnesota Department of Corrections Commissioner Paul Snell. Thanks everybody for joining us again. We're now about 24 hours from the killing of Alex, and during that time of everything that's happened, I hope everyone's taking away a picture of a life of generosity, service oriented, and his life's coming into clear focus. I had the privilege of talking with Michael and Susan, Alex's parents, yesterday, and the heartache in the hours after your son's murdered in front of the world is one thing, but what stood out to me was a parent's desire and their passion to make sure that the story of Alex was told. Someone who went to work to care for veterans, someone who was a valued coworker, someone who relished and lived in this state in a big way, whether it was outdoor activities or being down there on the street as a First Amendment witness to what ICE is doing to this state. So once again, to Michael and Susan, when I talk to these parents, it's always in deep confidential conversation. In this one, though, Michael was very clear to me. He said, don't let them forget Alex's story. The world knows how he died. He died at the hands of ICE agents on the streets of Minneapolis. They want us to make sure we said how he lived. So to Michael and Susan, our deepest sympathies, but you have my commitment to continue to tell that story. So now we've got two Minnesotans dead. We didn't had time to start telling Renee's story of a poet and a mother and a bright spirit, and now we're telling Alex's story. So my question is, what's the plan, Donald Trump? What is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state? You thought fear, violence, and chaos is what you wanted from us, and you clearly underestimated the people of this state and nation. We are tired, but we're resolved. We're peaceful, but we'll never forget. We're angry, but we won't give up hope. And above all else, we are clearly unified. If it was the intention of Donald Trump to make an example of Minnesota, then I'm damn proud of the example that the world's seeing. We believe in law and order in this state. We believe in peace. And we believe that Donald Trump needs to pull these 3,000 untrained agents out of Minnesota before they kill another person. And we're up here telling another story of a Minnesotan just trying to live their life without the interference. To Americans who are watching this right now, and I don't know, maybe you're watching it with curiosity, bewilderment, horror, scorn, or sympathy. I've got a question for all of you. What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government? Or the side of a mother whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you"? The side of tens of thousands of peaceful citizens who showed up to march when the wind chill was 40 below because they love this state and they love this country. You're allowed to decide at any point that you're not with this anymore. If you voted for this administration, heck, even if you thought Operation Metro Surge was a good idea, sounded like the thing to do a month ago, you're still allowed to look at what's happening here in Minnesota and say, this isn't what I voted for and this isn't what I want.
And I don't think a lot of people voted for this. A lot of people did not vote for this. You did not want to see dead bodies on the street every 5 minutes. I don't think anybody wanted to see dead bodies on the street. So Tim Walz is very good at making sure people get the human element of it, of Alex's life, of Renee's life. I get it, I do. But you got elements working against you. Elements are working against you, sir.
I ask you not to stand by idly. Speak out, share what you're seeing, and urge others to put politics aside. We're no longer having a political debate. We're having a moral debate.
Yeah, you see how this sounds right here. This is not somebody who's rushing to lock a storyline in. He's not trying to do that. This is someone who's trying to slow it down to bring the human element to it. So we being treated like we got common sense. Tim Walz is very good at treating us as though we understand English. We understand what we saw. He's not trying to trick us. He's not trying to pretend like we didn't see what we didn't see. Most people understand that right there. Most people respect that. I respect that. But he wants us to trust what we saw, not what people are telling us. That tone, that says everything. A person of integrity.
We all want secure borders and immigration enforcement that prioritizes criminals. And I want to thank the press, especially the local press, who has done a deep dive to show that's exactly what Minnesota does. But what you're seeing is not common sense, lawful, or humane enforcement. That's not what this occupation is about. Let me say our conversation should not be about, and I know we get asked of what we're doing on there, how many state patrol or police or National Guard I can put on the street. This isn't about how many people I can put on the street. It's about how many of these people, these ICE agents and whoever else was thrown into this unholy mess, how many Donald Trump can get out of here. Minnesotans, you've won the hearts and minds of people across this country, and you've done it through your peaceful, resolved defense of your neighbors and the Constitution. So once again, Minnesotans, stay peaceful, stay safe. Change is coming, and we can feel it. But this fight still goes on, and I'm just glad today to be joined in person because it's someone who's been at the side of Minnesotans throughout this and through every other thing we've gone through over the last 7 years. Someone who we describe as the people's lawyer, someone who is fighting this battle for the Constitution, for the safety of Minnesotans in courts every single day. I want to give this over to Attorney General Keith Ellison to talk a little bit about what's going on with the state on some of the lawsuits and what our expectations are in the coming days. Attorney General.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Walz, thank you for your excellent leadership leadership during this very, very difficult time.
See, we about to hear what is actually happening with the case. Let's listen.
It's unprecedented time, Governor, because quite honestly, there's never been a deployment of immigration agents this size in the history of the United States. There have been times in American history where they've deported a lot of people, but a concentrated deployment of ICE agents in one state in one period of time is unprecedented. And therefore, there's no playbook. And therefore, nobody knows exactly how to deal with this situation, but it is unique. And particularly, given that Minnesota does not have the highest immigration in the United States, given that Minnesota has a very, very professional community of law enforcement professionals who are taking care of the safety of our state, given the fact that the Department of Corrections, pursuant to state law, hands over people who ICE is looking for and they have proper paperwork for. Given all of that, this is a very curious situation and would reasonably lead someone to ask why. So let me talk about Alex Preddy.
See, the thing is, they're not getting access to everything. I'm assuming that they're not getting access to everything. Okay? I can only assume that. So,
Alex Preddy was a nurse at the VA. I happen to have a son who's 31 years old, who spent 5 years in the United States military as a combat medic. But toward the end of his deployment and the end of his service, he wanted to go into nursing, and so he did. And ended up getting an RN degree and works in the healthcare system here in Minnesota. And when he was at work today and last night, he said, look, my colleagues were crying and in tears. And they took this hit to one of their own very personally. And he said, I did too. He said, I didn't find myself shedding tears, but I could have, because I just was brokenhearted.
Yeah, but this is personal to everybody. This is personal to everybody. And we hope that the people who are responsible get held accountable. Okay? Held accountable. Everybody has seen that video. Everybody has seen the young man get his gun taken away. They took his gun from the back of his pants, from its holster. And 2 seconds later, he was shot by 7 or 8 people, 7 or 8 rounds. They took his gun before they shot him. So he was not armed when they murdered that man. Hopefully everyone is accountable who's going to be held accountable for those murders. And anybody that says anything differently needs to be voted out of office.
Because I know the service that he and the love and compassion he puts into taking care of the people he took care of at the VA. So, an intensive care nurse, kind, compassionate person to friend and family, described by coworkers as the first person who would jump in to help. And he was our neighbor, and he should still be with us right now. So let me just note that Superintendent Drew Evans of the BCA, another exemplary professional in our state. He is the BCA is the state's investigative agency, and it is their job to investigate crime. They have a specialized unit to investigate the use of force cases. They arrived on site after the shooting and were refused access. They then secured a judicial warrant, a warrant signed by a judge, which has never been needed before, and were still refused access. This is uncharted territory. Now, friends, this comes.
They knew he was not reaching for a weapon. Stop it. Stop that narrative. On the video, they took the gun from him. They took it while he was on the ground. There's a clear video that shows them taking the gun from the back of his jacket. So he was not armed, and it's the Second Amendment right to have a gun. You don't get to take my gun and then say I got a gun and make people shoot me. Stop it.
At the tail end of other offenses, like a shooting in North Minneapolis and another homicide in South Minneapolis, Renee Nicole Good, where they also were denied access to the scene, and investigators are to this moment still being denied access to the investigative file. This is not a rash decision for us to go to court and to seek a temporary restraining order from a judge to preserve evidence, destruction of evidence. I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, or whatever, but you should at least be in favor of conserving evidence.
Because they want to hide the people. They want to protect the murderers. When they want to protect the murderers, that's when they bar access. That's when they come up with a new narrative. That's when they don't want you to see any evidence whatsoever. Thank goodness we had a bunch of people who were taking video camera and had different angles. Everybody has an angle. Every angle that can be had has been seen. And we all see the gun being taken away from the man. We all see the man directing traffic. We all see them spray the man in the face without him having done anything. We all see these things. And most people can look at it and say, yeah, it doesn't matter whether he had a gun or not. You guys disarmed him. You guys took the gun away. So stop trying to hide evidence. They're going to try to hide evidence. They're going to try to hide these men that did this. But the state can also charge them. Let's hope that's the case.
In a homicide, and to have to go get an order from a judge to preserve that evidence is extraordinary and should alarm everyone who believes in equal justice under the law and who believes that every person, no matter how this case ultimately is resolved, deserves to have their case investigated to get to the truth of what happened. This is an extraordinary.
No, he wasn't. No, you don't. That's the goofy shit y'all come up with. We can look at the videotape, ding dong. We can surmise from the videotape. We saw what he was doing on the videotape. Don't make shit up now. He wasn't refusing to do anything. We saw him take the lady across the street and walk her across the street. We saw that. We saw the officer push the woman. We saw him go over to help the woman off the ground. We saw the officer push him. Don't try to make it seem we didn't see what we saw.
Moment in an unprecedented time, and we're doing all we can.
He didn't refuse to do anything. He helped the lady across the street. We saw that. Then the officer pushed that lady while that dude's back was turned. He saw the officer push that lady. He went over to help that lady, and the officer pushed him and then started spraying him. That's what we saw. He wasn't refusing anything. He was helping people. Now they got you maggots out here bullshitting, saying bullshit lies about the damn video. We know what we saw.
Can't just step up to that moment. My office represents the BCA and joined the Hennepin County Attorney's Office in a lawsuit last night, as you know, and we moved to prevent the destruction and or tampering with evidence related to Alex Pretty's shooting. And this includes any evidence the federal agents took from the scene of the shooting, preventing the state authorities from inspecting it.
And another question, when the hell does refusing to get off the street mean I get shot 8 times? I want to hear where that happens at, what country that happens in. Oh, I don't want to get off the street. And then all of y'all pull the gun out? And all of y'all pull a gun out and shoot me? Because I said I wasn't getting off the street? You sound dumb as hell.
We've never had to do anything like this before. Never before.
So when the state investigators blocking them, they blocking them. Or they're getting blocked. I'm sorry, they're getting blocked. State investigators are getting blocked. Okay. When warrants are needed, why are warrants needed? When a judge has to step in just to preserve the evidence, that doesn't sound like routine to me. I don't know about anybody else. Sound like somebody's trying to control some shit. Sounds like somebody's trying to control what can be seen and what can be used and what can be proven. You don't have to understand the legal details about that to understand common sense points. If everything is fine, nobody needs to block anybody to do anything. Nothing needs to be blocked. If it's the truth, if everybody can see the truth, if the truth is there, 90% of us saw the truth. 90% of us saw that man. If everything is clean and above board, nobody needs to get oversight or get blocked.
We filed that motion last night and for a temporary restraining order asking the court to take immediate action to preserve the evidence. And last night, within 2 hours of the filing, a judge granted the motion. The Department of Homeland Security and the federal government are now enjoined from destroying or altering evidence related to yesterday's shooting.
You
The fact that anyone would ever...
You sound goofy as hell. We're going to shut that shit up now. It's the White House that is out here trying to silence people's opinions. Goofy. It's the White House out here trying to silence the rest of us. Goofy. I don't understand. No, some of y'all retarded. I keep forgetting that. Let me shut up.
Or think that an agent of the federal government might even think about doing such a thing was completely unforeseeable only a few weeks ago. But now, this is what we have to do. As we said in our filing last night, the irreparable harm we would suffer if the federal government were allowed to destroy evidence is so weighty that any harm to the federal government does not even budge the scales in a court balancing of the scales. It's imperative that we preserve as much evidence as possible so that the state investigators are allowed to access the evidence to ensure a fair, thorough investigation. And I will say, I've heard not one single law enforcement or investigative agent in the state of Minnesota say that they won't share the information with the federal government. I've heard quite the opposite from the federal government. Now, Operation Metro Surge, as I noted when I started, this appears to be the largest single deployment or surge of immigration agents in the history of the country.
This administration wants people to get killed. They want people to die. They want to be able to control the narrative. They want to be able to control the people. They want to be able to do that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out here lying about what happened. Just lying to your face. Oh no, the ICE agents was trying to dig a car out of the snow. Oh no, he was punching, he was fighting the ICE agents. When we all can see that he wasn't fighting nobody. When we all could see that. Why is it that we all could see that, but they would come out there and say that lie?
And as a result, tremendous damage has been inflicted upon our state. We've had 2 killings within 2 weeks in an additional non-lethal shooting.
I told you sound dumb.
Countless numbers of people who have been stopped and had the demand for their papers, to have to show their papers in America. We've had door-to-door knocks where people have their homes barged into without cause of right. And we've had stores have to shutter, students not going to school. We've had reduction in employees going to their job sites. We've had jobs being, little markets being shut down, restaurants being interfered with. We've had a countless number of harms. And so we took the action of suing the federal government over Operation Metro Surge. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to be in federal court with my team arguing for a restraining order against Operation Metro Surge. I filed this case almost 2 weeks ago, and this will be our first hearing. The lawsuit we filed is is one that is caused by the unprecedented nature of this surge. It is a novel abuse of the Constitution that we're looking at right now. No one can remember a time when we've seen something like this, when a state.
No, they didn't. Stop saying those narratives. Don't stop spitting lies like they're facts. They're not facts. You're listening to somebody that tells you lies. That's goofy, because we can all see the tape. That's the problem I have with you all. If we can't agree on basic facts, you shouldn't even be having that discussion. We didn't see any interfering with arrest. He was not interfering with anything. We can see that on the tape. Where did you get that? I hate when y'all make shit up. We all saw him pick up the lady or try to get the lady across the street. We all saw him try to help the other lady who got pushed by the goddamn police. We all saw that. We didn't see no interference. So what are you lying for, Jim Peacock? What are you lying for?
Can marshal facts to show that our targeting is not based on excessive amounts of undocumented immigrants or anything like that, but we're targeted because of politics, which violates our First Amendment right.
Shut your ass up.
The 10th Amendment.
You're always running up in somebody's face talking about Second Amendment rights. Shut your ass up. It's convenient when y'all want to be in somebody's face with a gun, but it ain't convenient when somebody else is there. Shut your ass up. It ain't no time or when you don't have a gun. You all said we can carry our gun anywhere as long as it's a right to carry state. Shut your ass up when he was doing the same thing. He got a right to take his gun wherever. Shut your ass up. You sound dumb as hell, too. Y'all sound dumb as hell.
Entitled as a state to equal sovereignty, and we have been denied that. The federal government is literally commandeering and coercing.
I want to know right now, Black America, what law says, because I got in between the cop and a woman that says I'm supposed to be shot 8 times. I'll wait for you to come up with the law that says I'm supposed to be shot. I'll wait. After they had him on the ground and then took his gun, I'll wait.
Forcing the state of Minnesota to bend to its will, which is the prerogative of the people of the state of Minnesota. Let me remind everybody, let me take everybody back to 8th grade civics. The states predate the United States and came into the Union preserving their rights as states.
See, Minnesota is saying what rights do we have to know what's going on in our state? We have every right to know what's going on in our state. That's not a radical thing. That's a basic thing. Yes, he was unarmed. They took the gun away from him. So why did they need to shoot him after that? Okay. They didn't need to shoot him. They had already taken his gun. We can see on the videotape that they took the gun out of his back. We can see that. We can see that. He's not armed. We can see them take the gun away from him. That does not mean they get to kill another person, Goofy. When do they get to kill another person because I'm interfering with law enforcement? When do you get to kill me? When do you get to murder me? When do you get to execute me? And he wasn't, and you didn't even know he had the gun. They took the gun off of him. He was not brandishing any kind of weapon. Only when it's convenient for y'all do y'all get to talk about the Second Amendment right. Only when it's convenient for y'all. Okay? Only when it's convenient for y'all. Shut your ass up. We better not never hear y'all talk about no Second Amendment rights ever again. Ever again. You maggots better not come in here talking about Second Amendment rights when you say this man shouldn't have had no gun. That's wild.
To be the states that the citizens of those states want them to be within a constitutional framework. It is at the fundamental, it is in the DNA of American history that the federal government cannot trample over the prerogatives of the state. And that is exactly what is happening here, and that is exactly why we're going to court.
He was not reaching for no art. He was not reaching for the goddamn weapon, Black America. We can see on the videotape all 5 of them on top of him, and one officer taking the gun out of his pants pocket, out of his holster. He was not reaching for a gun. He didn't have an opportunity to do that. He had no intention of pulling a gun. Y'all just be talking. Go back and look at the tape. Slow it down. Watch the tape. Watch the tape from when the lady in the pink sweater is on the sidewalk videotaping. She's right there. And you see him take the gun out of the back of his pants. What part of he was not armed don't y'all get? It was too many officers on him. What the hell are you talking about, Black America?
This surge has drained local law enforcement time and resources. Jacob Fry, if he were here, could tell you that they've spent north of $2 million on overtime responding to ICE. They damage our economy, hurt our education system, and terrorize community members. And it must stop, and tomorrow is a big step in that direction. Now, as I noted a moment ago, people will ask, well, why Minnesota? I'll say this. Minnesota is dealing with targeted oppression from the federal government because of who we are and who we value. Minnesota is a place where we welcome the stranger. We have a number of nonprofits that focus on refugee resettlement in Minnesota. Minnesota is a place where we take care of the vulnerable among us. We're a state that just passed paid family leave. We're a state that believes in feeding our kids. Who are in school, and we're a state that believes that Minnesota is a great place to live for everyone, no matter what.
Before we keep going with this, hold on. Because you hate to have questions right here. Hold on. Everybody just hold on. I'm putting some on the screen right here. Hold on. Okay. This is the videotape right here. Y'all hear me? Here's the videotape. Ain't no sound gonna come because I don't want to hear the sound. But here's the videotape of them taking the gun out of the back of his pants. I hope y'all can see because this is it. Hold on. Let me shut that off. Okay. Now, this is them taking the gun out of the back. Right there. Do you see him taking the gun out of the back of his pants? Do you see him taking the gun out of the back of his pants? Let's do it again so y'all see. The dude in the tan jacket. Do you see him right there? Right there, right there, right there. Do you see him reaching for the gun? Do you see him taking it out of his back? Right there. He was not armed. They took the gun away from him and murdered him. That he was no threat to them anymore. Let's back it up. So some of the goofies don't see it. Let's make sure we goofy see it. Let me make sure y'all see. Let me put it up close. So everybody can see it. Let's get up close. Hold on. Are you up close? Now, let me show you. Watch the man take the gun out of the back of his pants right there. Right there. You see that? Circle. Take the gun away. So where was he armed at? And he was brandishing the gun. He wasn't brandishing the gun. He wasn't reaching for a gun. They took his gun away. Let's go back. Make sure everybody see it. Everybody see it. They pounding on him, pounding on. Now they take the gun from the back, out of his back. They take it from him. And then that good. You see that dude pull that gun out of his own pants pocket and shoot him? Do you see that? Do you see the guy right here? You see the guy standing right here. Take a gun out of his pocket and shoot him. Do you see this dude takes his gun out of his back? His hand is reaching for his back right now. This is the guy who shoots the first shot. Watch him take the gun out of his holster and shoot him. Right here. He's reaching, got the gun. Old boy in the gray got the gun. Look at old boy in the yellow, reach for his gun. Right here, reaching for his gun. Pulls it out, shoots that man. That's murder. So shut your ass up when you talking about that man deserved to die. That man did not deserve to die. You had already unarmed him. And I'm not showing it again because you should have seen it when I gave it to you. The man was unarmed. And then you deliberately shot him anyway.
Where you were born, of course we obey all laws, but we still believe that immigration is not a sin. We're leading, they're coming after our state, in my view, because of what we stand for, because we voted 3 times in favor of somebody not Donald Trump, which he has publicly said he resents deeply and believes is not even true. I can tell you it's not about fraud. Because if he sent people who understand forensic accounting, we'd be having a different conversation. But he's sending armed, masked men. This is a pretext, and it's not supported by the facts at all, which has brought us to court challenging the justification that the president has offered. For those watching around the country, I would submit to you that just as Portland and Chicago and LA were precursors to Minneapolis, Minneapolis is a precursor to a whole lot of other places that they have their eye on right here, right now, including Maine and several other states. If we don't stop this behavior here, it will only expand, and it won't be good for anyone in our country. Minnesota is staying strong, and I want to join Governor Walz in my just pride in being a Minnesotan. No.
Shut your ass up, Sniper Max Sniper. Shut your dumb ass up. Anything you got to say, you talk about the goddamn videotape. Don't talk about the host. Shut your ass up. You don't have no leg to stand on when it comes to this video. None of y'all have a leg to stand on when it comes to this video. That man was murdered. That man was murdered, period. And anything that administration comes out and says is a lie. Because we ain't dumb. Unless y'all retarded and you can't see. Because I saw somebody murdered. I saw people take a gun away from the man. That's what I saw.
No football game victory could ever make me feel as good about our state as I do about people standing up, helping their neighbors, engaging in mutual aid, giving each other rides, different places.
Not in here you won't. You'll get your ass the hell on. This is how you get your ass the hell on.
Make sure that there's enough groceries. Protesting, using their First Amendment rights. This state has a lot of spirit. And Minnesota Nice is a real thing. I wasn't fortunate enough to be born in Minnesota. I was born and grew up in Michigan. And I can tell you that this state has a lot of nice people. It really does. And a lot of people who believe in taking care of their neighbor and welcoming the stranger. And as we see right now, resisting tyranny. So I just want to say that as the courage of protesters and others who are helping their neighbors is so evident on the streets of this great state of ours, we at the Attorney General's office and in Minnesota state government can do no less than match the courage you have already shown. And we will not back down, we won't blink, we won't bow. We will stand firmly on our constitutional rights and in favor of Minnesotans. We will do that in the ballot box, at the courts. We will do that in the streets in a peaceful, legal, First Amendment protected way. And we will do it in a multitude of ways. But one thing we will not do is we will not back down and we will not bend. And so let me wrap up by saying this. We will never forget Alex Preddy. We will never forget Renee Nicole Good. And we will never forget any of the Minnesotans who have suffered so unjustifiably in this time. Minnesota is a great place. That is why I believe we've been targeted. But it's not going to work. And we'll be in court tomorrow arguing for the rights of every Minnesotan to stand up and be the generous, courageous people that we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General. We'll be glad to take some questions, folks. Tom?
Wells, you got a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi making several demands, I guess you would call them, regarding sanctuary cities, regarding fraud and voter rolls. Your response to that, and is there anything you can do to meet the Trump administration at least part of the way to try to turn this temperature down?
Well, first of all, it's not a serious attempt, and the Attorney General sent that in. I would thank the local folks and Commissioner Snell. A great thank you to you and your team over there. In that letter, they talked about, you need to hand people over who are in your jails. They're taking credit for people that we've had in jail for a long time. We always hand them over, and the commissioner very clearly. So they're lying. They're lying. This has nothing to do with fraud, as the Attorney General said. They're not sending us forensic accountants, and these are things that have been we're dealing with now and have been for quite some time. So look, it's not a serious attempt to get at this. The way to fix this is get these folks out of here. We've continued to work with them. They asked us for these numbers. We provided them. We continue to show they're not serious. And look, I think everybody understands what the last request was, totally unrelated to anything on the voter files. This is, again, as the Attorney General said, Donald Trump telling everybody that the election was rigged, who started all this nightmare for America. Has nothing to do with it. And I would just give a pro tip to the Attorney General. There's 2 million documents in the Epstein files we're still waiting on. Go ahead and work on those.
He said, mind y'all damn business. He's saying, mind y'all damn business. Stop worrying about what's going on in this state. We wouldn't be having this issue right now if you wouldn't have sent all these people here to try to intimidate and harass the Somali people. You just sent those people here to harass and intimidate the Somali people. Now you stepped in doo-doo. Now you're trying to clean it up. That's the long and short of it. Donald Trump sent these troops here in order to intimidate the Somali people because of the fraud. And now you done fucked up and engaged the rest of Minnesota. The regular, ordinary, individual Minnesota. You done messed up and engaged them. So now you got to figure out how you can save face. But saving face don't mean you're going to lie about murder. We can't lie about murder. I know what I saw, and millions of people know what they saw. Okay?
They're not honoring judicial warrants. How can you trust that they're going to be honoring this temporary restraining order?
Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it because, since Trump 2 began, and even including Trump 1, we filed a lot of lawsuits. We're north of 50 now. And they've been on everything from birthright citizenship to SNAP to
that right there is our problem. People like you. A police officer may legally shoot a suspect even after a weapon is taken away if the officer reasonably believes the suspect still poses an imminent threat of death or serious injury. I wonder why he thought that. I wonder why the first guy who pulled the gun out of his holster and shot the dude on the ground, I wonder why he thought he was a threat when there was 5-6 other officers holding him down on the ground. I wonder why he thought he was a threat. Shut your ass up. That don't even make sense. It don't even calculate in this scenario. Because he wasn't in no harm's way. That's wild.
To things.
No, he didn't. Because the man was already on the ground. The man was still on the ground. Black America, stop fucking co-signing the bullshit. Stop co-signing bullshit. The man was surrounded by 5 other goddamn agents. 6 goddamn agents. They'd already taken his gun. Right after they took his gun, they shot him in the damn back. Stop co-signing that bullshit.
It's like the National Institute of Health, to EV, to all kinds of things. And they've been complying with the orders. Now, I will say the foot drag, we've had to threaten them with contempt a few times. And I'm not saying that the compliance has been good. I am saying that open defiance of court orders is not something that we've experienced. And so I have every reason to believe that they will obey the court order. Now, if they don't, we have recourse and we'll pursue that recourse. On a deeper level, your question, I would simply say this. Just because they may not do the right thing does not absolve us of the responsibility of doing the right thing. We're going to seek legal recourse, and if they disobey a court order, then that's on them. But we're going to seek those orders, and we're going to insist that they be followed.
Local sheriffs have said they lack the legal authority to honor ICE detainers, and that's something that Attorney General Ellison has said as well. They lack the authority under Minnesota law. Is that an authority you could just give them? Could you pass a law? Yeah.
So really, the key issue here is I think most sheriffs in the state do fully honor ICE detainers and provide notification. The issue becomes when they have a lawful reason to be released, bail, released by judicial order. The jail cannot hold that person beyond that point in time. That's the fundamental issue. There is not a lack of cooperation. There is just some legal boundaries. We've had some conversations with ICE about this. We think that there may be some things that could be worked out, but I don't think that's the core issue that we're really dealing with here.
So that's the regular, normal press conference. Let's get to the Lion press conference. Let's get to the press conference where they got a script. I hate people who have scripts. This is where we get the script. Listen to what we've seen with our eyes. Let's see what we remember, what we saw with our eyes, and what this person says.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. There are 2 different things that I'd like to discuss with you tonight. The first one being a storm.
Wait. Damn, I didn't even know she was talking. Hold on. Okay, notice how fast this shit go. All right. There's no we still learning anything. There's no we're waiting on the investigation. We gotta get all the evidence in. The story is delivered complete, straight up, off the cuff, back immediately. That is not because everything is known. That is because doubt is dangerous to these people. we all, wait a minute, hold on. She's not talking yet. I'm talking. That is not, they need you settled early. They need y'all to understand what the script that they want to give y'all. That's it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. There are two different things that I'd like to discuss with you tonight. The first one being a storm that is barreling down on our country and will be impacting approximately 250 million Americans in 40 different states. We've been working together here at the FEMA headquarters and have opened our National Response Coordination Center and are working with local and state authorities to make sure that we're getting individuals and communities pre-deployed resources that they may need and also preparing them for the upcoming days, which will significantly impact them and their citizens. The Trump administration and FEMA are working closely with them to get them information, to get them resources, and to help them be prepared and well equipped for the road ahead as we go through this next week. But before I take any questions and give more details on the storm and its impact, I do want to address the tragic situation that we saw in Minneapolis today that unfolded on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country. At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officer
Right off the bat, she's lying. Because we saw the video. The video, he was directing traffic. He didn't approach the police, ICE at all. He never approached ICE at all. She's lying right then.
Officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Wait a minute. I want to know how many of y'all know she lying. That whole story was made up. Put a 2 in the chat if that story is made up out of whole cloth, whole lie, because it don't match none of the video. Put a 2 in the chat. You know she lying straight up out the gate. Everything she said was a lie. The videotape. How do you lie? And we see the videotape. The man was in the middle of the street directing traffic. The 2 ladies that were filming, he was filming those 2 ladies. He was also directing traffic. No ICE around. The 2 ladies started to walk back across the street. They were arguing with ICE. ICE was pushing them back across the street. One lady, I don't know what happened to him that Alex grabbed a hold of her. No, Mr. Preddy was it? He grabbed a hold of the girl and tried to get her on the sidewalk with ICE. We see behind his back that he pushes one of the ladies into the snow. So he didn't approach them at all. She's absolutely lying. Absolutely lying. They ran up on him and he didn't even say anything to him, or he didn't even have any smoke for him because he wasn't there to deal with them. He was there to record the recorders.
The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Y'all see the lie. How many of y'all hear the lie? You hear the lie, you see the lie.
About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects. And a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agents finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. Our law enforcement are doing everything that they can to protect the public. We're praying for this deceased loved one's family and friends, but we also recognize that the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to evaluate their rhetoric, their conversations, and their encouragement of such violence against our citizens and our law enforcement officers. I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie. He's called them the Gestapo. He's encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist. He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their...
Now you see, they're piling on. They're not just trying to describe what happened. They're trying to tell you what the man was doing when we can see what the man was doing. They're trying to give you a motive. They're trying to give you motive for the things that they are talking about in support of the lies that they're trying to put out. Because if you lock in on a motive, he came there to hurt the policeman. He didn't come there to hurt the policeman. He didn't come there to hit it. And I don't even understand how somebody just said this in the chat. Why did he have extra magazine? Who told you he had extra magazines, Jim Young? That ain't shown on the camera. I didn't see that on no camera. I didn't see nothing but them take his gun out of the back of his pants. Where did you see extra magazines at? Before they shot him. Because ain't nobody seen that except you.
families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murderers to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice, and even overseen a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars. Tens of billions.
It don't matter what he had with his fucking gun. It don't matter. I can have a clip in my pocket. If I don't have a gun, then I'm not a danger to you. If you take my gun, I can't use any clips.
Of dollars were stolen under his watch, and he allowed it to happen, and in some instances may have even facilitated it. In other cities and states across the country, we don't see this happen. Local, state, and officials work with us to make sure that we're making their streets safer. I'll point to the city of Memphis, which is where there is a Democrat mayor in place. He worked with us in our...
See, this is where they shift the focus to the crowds and the chaos. Okay, this is not random. This is how you bury the accountability that's supposed to be on the officers. When everything becomes disorder and danger, his death fades. It's all about what the other people did. It's never about what they did. It's never about the murder that they did. She's trying to guide us to fear the aftermath. If we didn't do this, then this is going to happen. Then he came to kill us. Then this is happening. Governor Walz ain't trying to protect y'all. See, only goofies go along with these stories. I try to figure out, why are you telling me this shit? Y'all need to be figuring out, why are they telling me this? Why are they lying to me, to my face? Why are they lying to you, to your face? And you, because you soft-minded and you want to go along with this shit, you asking me questions when you should be asking them, why are they lying directly to you?
Federal law enforcement officers, and we saw murder rates drop by 50% because of that partnership. We've seen historic lows in the criminal acts that have happened in that city. We've had the same amount of law enforcement officers there, but a very different result because of the leadership in place. Last week, ICE did over 2,000 different operations, and we saw people be brought to justice and the American people made safer because of that work. We don't have this problem in Texas or in Florida because those individuals in those states work with us and they make sure that they keep peace and calm while they bring criminals to justice. In Minneapolis, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, they instead choose violence. They instead choose to encourage the destruction of their city and the crime against against their people. It appears that they want this lawlessness to continue. It appears that they want chaos to distract from the theft and the fraud and the corruption of their city. I'll remind you that this city has been corrupt for years with what we've seen with people that have been stealing taxpayer money, all under the leadership of.
We wasn't talking about that. Now you starting to smear the government. You're trying to smear Minnesota. This is where the excuses and the attacks against the people of Minnesota start to happen. Instead of proving your story, instead of supporting your story that you said he pulled out a gun, brandishing a weapon, threatening the police, attempting to engage the police, which was all a lie. Instead of trying to prove your story, you trying to attack the people who are trying to stop them from doing this shit. No, you don't, Black America. No, you don't. You half retarded if you saw what I saw. You half retarded if you didn't see them take that gun away. You half retarded if you didn't see him directing traffic away from everybody, helping the ladies across the street. You half retarded if you didn't see that. Did nobody see him engage ICE at all? ICE walked over to him. ICE walked over to him as he was helping those ladies. I don't understand what the hell you mean we saw differently. You didn't see nothing differently. Everybody saw that.
Governor Walz and Mayor Frey. I'm asking for all the authorities in Minneapolis and the leaders to work with us. And there are two things that we have repeatedly asked the governor and the.
She told two lies when she opened up her mouth. She told two lies.
Mayor to do. Number one, all we want them to do is that when they are going to release a dangerous criminal from their jails, turn them over to us so we can get them out of this country as soon as possible. Since we have been back in the White House with President Trump's leadership, they have released over 490 criminals onto their streets rather than allow us to get them out of the country to keep families safe. The second thing that we have asked the governor and the mayor to do is to help us keep people safe. Just give us backup on the streets while we do our targeted operations to get illegal criminals out of our country. And then we wouldn't have to be there facing these types of situations that we face with violent rioters who are impacting and attacking our law enforcement officers. That's all. Those are the two requests that we've asked of them. We've asked them to help us do that so that we can continue to see success in Minneapolis like we see in so many other cities and communities across the country. But they have refused because they want us talking about attacking law enforcement officers instead of the fraud and the theft that they've facilitated in Minnesota.
Because the fraud and the theft is unimportant. They're unimportant. Okay? They're unimportant.
One thing I'd like to do before I take your questions on that situation on the story.
Hold on. You stay right there. Hold on. Because y'all, it's like y'all in a bizarro world. Some of y'all in a bizarro world. Here we go. This is right before. This is him. This is right before. This is him and a lady. Him and a lady taking pictures. They show him and they show her. That this is the lady in the pink. We looking at her camera. Here's Alex right here on screen with a video camera in his hand. He's directing traffic. He's nowhere near the police. He didn't step to the officers and do any of that. He's right there in the middle of the street, directing traffic, trying to help the lady come across the street. That's what he's doing, helping the lady across the street. Officer pushes him. Officer pushes the lady. Let's see, so we can make sure. Let's make sure all the goofies see. Let's make sure all the goofies see. He's helping the lady. That's his arm around the lady right there, helping her across the street. He didn't approach any ICE people. You see a phone in the man's hand. You don't see him with any gun or anything. Now, why is it the officer pushes the lady down? The officer pushes the lady down, don't he? So then he starts to spray Alex in the face. Alex has not done anything. So why wasn't she lying when she said that he approached them ready to shoot them. He approached them. He didn't have anything to do with that. He turned around because the officer was spraying him in his face. Because he couldn't see, because the officer had already pulled the spray out, spraying him and the lady in his back, and he turned around. Let's go. Another time for the goofy. He's helping the lady from across the street. He was in the middle of the street, directing traffic. There he is right there, directing traffic. Not doing anything to any kind of policeman. He says, stop. Let me help this lady across the street. So he goes over there to get the lady to help her cross the street. This is him bringing her across the street right there, not approaching any ICE agents. He wasn't doing anything. He pushes the lady. The officer is pulling out the spray to spray him. He starts to spray right there. Alex didn't have nothing to do with talking to him or touching him. Stop spraying me. Why are you spraying us? So stop asking, was he engaging with the police? He was not engaging with the police. He was messing. He was taking the women across the street out of the snow. So Kristi Noem is lying.
Is give you a few facts about the storm and what we're facing here in the coming days.
No, goofy. He ain't no traffic cop. What he's doing is taking pictures and making sure he doesn't get ran over. That's why he's in the street, goofy. He's not attacking the police. He's holding his arms up because the officer is spraying his face.
This storm is going to produce heavy snow. It's going to produce dangerous freezing rain.
There. Goofy, she's lying. Straight off the bat, she's lying. We're being told the same federal apparatus involved in the shooting is handling the investigation, while the state says it couldn't even get access. We understand that this is politics. They're trying to do something. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to cover for these dudes. It's obvious that these dudes murdered this guy. We already seen the video. I showed y'all the video earlier of the policeman taking the gun out of the back of his pants. He wasn't engaging them at all. They came over there to harass him. So now people should feel disrespected. You really should feel disrespected for them lying to you. Because they can tell y'all anything. Can't tell me nothing. Now this administration can't tell me nothing. They can tell y'all anything. They ain't going to tell me nothing. I know what I saw. I know that man didn't engage them. I know that man didn't have no gun. Like she said, he was trying to mess with the officers. She was trying to engage with the officers. I know she lying right there. I know she lying when she said he was a threat. I know she lying when she said they had to take the officer and the officer felt for his life. I know she lying right there. But they can tell y'all anything. Y'all believe anything. I believe what I saw. Everybody should believe what they saw. But then again, Black America, you just told me we didn't see the same thing. Where the fuck we didn't see the same thing? Where we didn't see the same thing? We saw the same thing. Let's see what this lying Shiva got to say. Let's see what you got to say. Because you always lying. She always lying. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get to the right video. She always lying. This one right here. Let's see what she gonna say. Okay, let me see. Hold on. She must have her own thing. Caroline Levitt. She must have her own stream or something. because it's always never from the White House. It's always what. Okay, here, hold on. Here she go. I always got to get the right one because no, that ain't even the right one. I hate when I get her and it's the wrong one. Well, PBS Face the Nation. Hold on, uno momento, because they be tripping. Live. White House stream. Because she's supposed to have her own stream. But that's okay. We'll watch it from there. Fuck it. We'll watch it from here. We'll see what she got to say. What lies come out of her mouth. Because she always lying. Somehow she lying. She always lying. Hold on. Here we go.
For coming in on a snow day for the rest of the government in the country. And feels the impacts of that winter storm. President Trump continues to monitor the situation closely, and he has remained in constant contact with FEMA and emergency responders. President Trump also quickly approved 12 federal emergency disaster declarations within 24 hours for the states of Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, enabling these states to access critical federal resources to supplement their response efforts if needed. These declarations will help state-led efforts of turning power back on, clearing roads for emergency services, and keeping communities safe. The White House will continue to correspond directly with governors and local officials in the coming days, especially in those states that were harshly impacted by this storm. I would also like to address the chaotic scenes in Minnesota over the weekend. Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal law enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday.
Hold on. Because she always got some goofy shit to say. And I can't with her. Hold on. See, I always gotta hold on. Because she always got something goofy to say. Hold on. Here we go. I always got to get the official thing. I like the official record.
Continue to correspond directly with governors and local officials in the coming days, especially in those states that were harshly impacted by this storm. I would also like to address the chaotic scenes in Minnesota over the weekend. Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal law enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result.
Wait a minute. Let's see how she lied. Let's see if she lied too. Let's see. Everybody done seen the video. So let's see if she lies too.
Result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Frey.
Now, why isn't we talking about the Democrats? Why aren't we talking about Alex and what you all are going to do to help this situation? Notice the language that we get from these people. We always get the language that it's the left's fault. They don't take no accountability whatsoever. This administration takes no accountability. That's why it's not respected. specifically across the world, specifically across governments, specifically across governorship. That's why this administration is not respected, because you don't take accountability for any of your actions. It's always somebody else's fault. If she mentions Biden, I will be shocked as hell if she don't even mention Biden. I'll be shocked, because that's the first thing that comes out of her fucking mouth. But it's always the Democrats' fault. It's never accountability on their part. That's why the world doesn't have respect for this administration.
And other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives.
Oh shit! Yeah. Whoa! What the hell was that?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the.
Man, what the hell?
Where you have victims and highlighting their stories. And
hold on.
In nearly every single other state.
Wait a minute. What the fuck happened?
Today, nearly 80 million Americans.
I'm sorry.
American communities and have inflicted precisely what unfolded in Minneapolis on Saturday morning. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal. This used to be a universally accepted position in the United States. Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's...
What the fuck I say? Didn't I say they were going to bring Biden into it? Did not say that. No accountability whatsoever. It's always going to be the Democrats' fault. This is how some of you goofies sound in the chat. Whenever you mention Democrat, you never take accountability on your side. Never.
Borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country.
We invited tens of millions of people. Y'all just got, once you recognize that they lying to the American public, once you recognize that that's all they gonna do is lie to the American public, you spot them when they start lying. You spot it. I told you she was gonna mention Biden. She ain't done. She gonna say terrorist. She gonna say what is un-American. She gonna say all of the buzzwords. Listen to her. Watch.
Among them, violent.
Because it's a script. It's a script that they use. They use a script. And some of y'all goofy goofies believe they script. I caught on to their shit. It's a script that all of them use. So they don't have no accountability.
Terrorized.
You start terrorists. I told you she was gonna say terrorists. She's gonna say Biden, all that.
And have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered by illegal alien criminals. Earlier this month, an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our country under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crimes. Nearly 80 million Americans voted for him to deliver on that very promise, and he is. As the duly elected president, the president is fulfilling the will of the people by arresting and removing these threats from our country in cities from Los Angeles to New York, and yes, Minneapolis. Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state. It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number 1, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes.
That's the whole point of sanctuary cities. You know that's not what they do in sanctuary cities. And also they want them to, well, did she say that they wanted them to turn over the voter rolls? Because President Trump demanded that they turn over the voter rolls. Now, why would they need the voter rolls? Why would they want the voter rolls?
Especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures that, I will add, have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions. Additionally, President Trump is calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation ending sanctuary cities once and for all. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding citizens only, not for dangerous illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and do not belong here. We hope Governor Walz will do the right thing and continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning. Americans overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict immigration enforcement against the worst illegal aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position from the biased media coverage over the course of the last few days, but polling shows huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes. A country unable to deport criminals who enter it illegally is no country at all. The open borders agenda of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats was already on the ballot.
You got to hit every point now. You can't come up there and say nothing about Democrats, and you ain't hit all the points now. You got to hit all the names now. Kamala Harris got to be in there, right?
On November 5th, 2024, and it was resoundingly rejected. President Trump will never back down from his promise to deport violent criminal illegal aliens and make America safe again, and he welcomes all cooperation in that effort. With that, I will answer your questions. And Jordan Conradson, why don't you kick us off today? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. Jordan Conradson, Gateway Pundit. I have a few questions.
My thing is, why should I go along with the law when y'all killing everybody? Y'all still killing me when I go along with the law. I go along with the law, y'all still killing me. I go against the law, y'all kill me. Shit, I don't have no incentive, none whatsoever. She got to keep the hate machine well oiled. Of course she do. You got to say Democrats in every other sentence. You got to say terrorists in every other sentence. You got to say Tim Walz, fraud, sanctuary. You got to say these buzzwords because you got to have these goofies right on track. They got to remember these buzzwords.
First, with respect to the shooting in Minneapolis, we're seeing massive outrage from mainstream media and the left, but I'm just wondering, where was that outrage when Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, was executed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who she posed no threat to in the U.S. Capitol?
Well, you raised a very important point, which I also believe that I just raised as well in those opening remarks, in that there has no doubt been selective outrage by the liberal biased media in picking and choosing victims and highlighting their stories. And as I've said, President Trump.
You see how they turn that shit around? You see how they turn that shit around? Them the motherfuckers that ain't acknowledging that January 6th retards hurt the officers in the damn Capitol. These Republican retards are the ones that ain't acknowledging the officers that got hurt. Now this goofy in the audience, who's a reporter, is talking about, where was that outrage when Ashley Babbitt got killed? That's wild. That's wild. Y'all see the narrative. Well, I see it. I don't know whether y'all see it or not. I see it. But
Trump does not want any Americans to lose their lives in the streets of America and in American communities across the country. He believes what happened on Saturday is a tragedy, but every life is equal to President Trump, and that's why the lives of Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray continue to matter to him and be an utmost priority to him to this very day. And it's unfortunate.
So what about Renee Good and Alex? All of them. They all supposed to be important.
That we did not see the same type of sensationalist media coverage over the tragic deaths of those innocent American women and girls across the country as we are in the wake of this tragedy that took place on Saturday.
We don't see y'all acting the fool about the black people that got killed. Y'all ain't said shit about that one black dude that got killed 2 days before Renee Good by ICE officers. We ain't seen shit about that. What the fuck you mean?
Gabe. Sure, go ahead, Jordan.
I want to get your response to this. The Arizona Attorney General, just days before this shooting in Minneapolis, she seemingly encouraged rioters to go out, shoot, and kill ICE agents. And I'll quote her here. She said, "If you reasonably believe your life's in danger and you're in the house or in your car or on your property, you can defend yourself with lethal force." And she said that you can't tell if ICE agents are law enforcement or imposters, and it becomes an issue of whether you reasonably believe they belong.
See, I don't have respect for the room. It ain't no real reporters in there. This is all the, wait a minute, hold up. I should have got my goddamn press pass. That's how fucking informal these people that are asking questions are. Because none of them are Ted Koppel or Rachel Maddow or anybody like that. Ain't none of them like that. These are a bunch of goofies off the internet that they picked that would say the same thing that they wanted them to say. All of this press is new internet sensational people. You may have some old hats in there, but you ain't got a lot of old hats in there. That's wild that nobody would be asking that kind of question right there. Nobody that was a reasonable journalist that had integrity would be talking like this person. Nobody.
Enforcement. Do you have a response to that? And does the White House believe that she should be held accountable for these remarks?
Such dangerous rhetoric, as I pointed out, is exactly what has brought us to this.
See, when you hand feed me or spoon feed me questions, softballs, then of course I'm gonna look good on camera. But you're a lying piece of shit. Everything about this administration is a lie. They didn't mention anything about the voter rolls because they pulled back on that, Black America. They first asked them for voter rolls. Okay. You sound goofy, Paul. You need to find you another channel, right? Ain't that what you need to do? You need to do that pronto. Pronto.
Position today, where you have elected Democrat officials across the country who are encouraging left-wing agitators and crazy people to go out and unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement. Again, these brave men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and the federal enforcement are just trying to do their jobs to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to go after the worst of the worst in this country. I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage the Arizona Attorney General to look at the video of an ICE agent in Minneapolis. He was approached by left-wing agitators who were honking their horns and were screaming slurs at him. And he rolled down his window and he said, what are you doing? I am out here trying to catch a child predator, somebody who has convicted crimes against an innocent child, and you are trying to obstruct me from doing my job. This
Stop being
rhetoric
dumb.
against ICE, comparing them to
Stop
Nazi
being dumb,
Gestapo,
Mary
Donald
Barty.
Trump's police
Stop
force,
being dumb.
is despicable, it is shameful, and it is precisely what has led to the escalation of tensions in Minneapolis and in other places across the country. Gabe, go ahead.
For justifying violence.
I would defer you to the Department of Justice on that.
Thank you, Caroline. Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage to massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
With regards to the deployment of Tom Homan to Minneapolis, should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a sign that the president is dissatisfied with how the officials on the ground had handled the incident?
No, Mr. Homan is doing an exceptional job, and he has been working with Secretary Noem.
You do know Homan is the one. Ain't he the one who took a $50,000 payoff in front of the FBI cameras, and Donald Trump made the investigation go away? Ain't that the dude that's what happened? He got $50,000 payoff bribe from would-be FBI agents on camera. Ain't that the guy? The one that's heading to Minnesota? Make it make sense.
And President Trump over the course of the last year. Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States, and she's continuing to oversee the entire Department of Homeland Security and all of the immigration enforcement that's taking place across the whole entire country. Of course, Secretary Noem is also in charge of FEMA, and we are in the wake of a brutal winter storm where hundreds of thousands of Americans have been impacted by that. So Border Czar Homan is in a unique position to drop everything and go to Minnesota to continue having
that, and that alone should convince people that your president is trash and he's crooked. Yeah, they think that president shine out of somebody's ass like freaking stars. Your president is corrupt. He's been corrupt. He knows he has corrupt people working for him. He has corrupt people working for him. The man that is going to Minnesota, Tom Homan, is it Homan? Yeah, Tom Homan, who is going to Minnesota to see what he can do with the ICE agent, right? He is the one who got caught on camera taking money from the FBI, $50,000. Then he denied that he took it. But he never gave the money back. Blackmail for doing something. They wanted him to do something, and he said, pay me to do it. And he took the money. He's corrupt as hell. And President Trump squashed the investigation against him.
These productive conversations with state and local officials, and I know that he's catching a plane in just a few hours to do just that at the request of the president. Jennifer.
On Saturday's shooting, has the president been briefed, and have you been briefed on specific details of the shooting? How many shots were fired? How many guns discharged? And I mean, did the protesters' gun go off, or only the officers' guns? Do you have any of those details?
Again, the investigation is continuing, Jennifer, and we will let the facts lead, and we will let the facts play out in this investigation. I do know that HSI and FBI are conducting interviews with those that were involved and the agents who were involved in this unfortunate tragedy on Saturday.
Are they keeping the president up to date on all those details?
The president is obviously very much on the ball with respect to this investigation. I think he's made that quite clear with the various statements that you've seen him put out, and also the 4 points that the president has outlined as well to Governor Walz, and to encourage him to cooperate with ICE and with the administration. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen.
Yeah, what is the domestic terrorism act that he committed? Because we saw him helping women across the street. What domestic terrorist accent thing did he do? Let's see what she says.
Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Pretty for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets.
We can't tell.
And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the president goes for the parents of angel families and parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country. Why don't we go to the back? Kelly.
Does the president believe that the killing, though, was a mistake? Has he expressed that at all?
Again, the president has said, you know, we have to review it, and this investigation needs to continue, and he's letting the facts on the investigation lead itself.
Body camera footage to be released to the public? Now,
that's not something I've heard the president commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Caroline, how serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state officials in Minnesota are actively coordinating with demonstrators through encrypted or non-encrypted communications, as well as providing government resources to impede immigration enforcement operations?
I'm sorry, Carrie, could you repeat your question?
How serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state Minnesota officials are communicating with demonstrators to basically impede immigration officials?
Well, we've definitely seen active organization amongst these left-wing groups, Carrie, and it is something that I know the FBI and the Department of Justice are looking into. Again, it is illegal to unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement in this country. And these agitators are making it nearly impossible for ICE to do their jobs and for federal law enforcement to carry out the will of the American people to deport the worst of the worst. I would just encourage everyone to please imagine in this room, all of you come to the White House every day to report on the President of the United States and the administration. You come into this briefing room, you walk through the gates of the White House. Just imagine if there were left-wing agitators or agitators of any kind who were in your face, who were doxing you, who were harassing you, who were physically threatening you, who were biting off your fingers in the case of two Border Patrol agents we saw this past weekend in Minneapolis. That would make it very difficult for you to show up and do your job here at the White House every single day. That's what these officers in Minneapolis are facing. That's why the president is calling on Governor Walz, Mayor Frey for these three very simple and common sense points of cooperation so that ICE and local law enforcement can work together. Again, we are just asking for police to be police. And if you ask any law enforcement agent or official, they want to be able to work with their federal counterparts at the state and local level and vice versa.
Caroline. Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions. One is looking forward, the role of Mr. Homan. Is he being sent by the president to diffuse the situation that exists right now on the ground? Is he the point person essentially for the White House in terms of trying to tamp down the tensions that exist right now in Minnesota?
No, he ain't trying to tamp them down, because that Tom Homan character said that if the families get separated, that's all they got to do is go right across the border with the person that got to go across the border. We don't want to separate family. We're going to throw all of y'all out. That's basically what this Tom Homan said. This is wild. None of this would be happening if protesters was there. That's the First Amendment. That's our First Amendment right. None of this. That's the First Amendment right. They can go and protest all day long. That's what y'all don't get. It's the First Amendment right. It's in the Constitution. You need to read your Constitution. It's the First Amendment right. And Alex was doing nothing but taking pictures. Alex was filming and his life ended. So what the fuck are you talking about? Whether I engage you and fight with you or I'm not even engaging with you and I'm minding my own business, I get shot. That don't even make sense. So whether they're a protester or not, they're still killing innocent people.
Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them, again, to achieve this level of cooperation to subdue the chaos on the streets of Minneapolis.
No, this is the goofies trying to absolve the goddamn January 6th insurrectionist people. They'll sit here and try to forgive and make excuses for that goofy crowd. Yet and still, Alex wasn't supposed to take a gun with him. Alex shouldn't have had a gun with him, but it's okay for them goofies to storm the Capitol. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. They should never have been charged. Shut your ass up. Y'all don't never stand on nothing. I hate having conversations with people who don't stand on nothing. You don't stand on nothing. You don't stand on the January 6th people. You don't stand on this shit with Alex and the Second Amendment. You don't stand on nothing.
And I would just point out that Mr. Homan is someone who has been lauded for many, many decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very qualified.
No, you don't try to snow us on that motherfucker. That's the motherfucker who took a bribe. He's the one who took the $50,000 bribe. Don't try to snow us on that motherfucker. We know what he did.
He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement.
Nobody had an open border, goofy. That's been debunked from day one, goofy. Nobody had an open border. And there's never going to be a closed border. How about that? Take that. How about them Epstein files, goofy?
Enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country.
Secondly, Caroline, can you talk a little bit about tomorrow's trip by the president to Iowa, what the purpose of that trip is, what the goals of that trip are?
Sure, yes. Tomorrow, President Trump will be traveling to Des Moines, Iowa. He will be making a local visit at a local business, and then he will be giving a speech on affordability and on the economy. And I know he very much looks forward to being there, to meeting with the great people of Iowa, but also lawmakers as well. Jake.
Caroline, a couple quick questions. First, does the president remain fully confident in Kristi Noem's ability to lead the DHS?
Yes.
And then just secondly, just on that Wall Street Journal reporting that we saw yesterday, the president said at some point that the immigration enforcement officers would leave Minneapolis. Did the Saturday killing of Alex Preddy expedite that withdrawal at all?
To your first question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question, I would point you back to what I said earlier. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures, CBP will no longer be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement will peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions, to remove violent criminals from American neighborhoods across the country.
Did Walz ask the president to remove the immigration enforcement officers?
He asked the president to scale down, and the president reiterated.
Are you asking me to make the jump from an open border to illegal aliens? Then why don't you fucking make the jump from Epstein files to your goofy ass freak of a president who's in those Epstein files? Why don't you make that leap? I'll make the leap for the open border. I'll even give it to you and say there was an open border. Now, goofy ass, admit that your president is in the Epstein file. Let's see how long it take you to do that. Shut your ass up. It's always on the Democrat side. It ain't never accountability on y'all side.
What the president put out in his statement yesterday and what I'm sharing with all of you as well. I would just add on this level of cooperation a few statistics that I think are very important. 7 of the top 10 safest cities in the United States cooperate with ICE. And we've seen historic turnaround in safety in cities that have chosen to cooperate with ICE, that are not just led by Republicans, but also look right here in Washington, D.C. We had a great level of cooperation with Mayor Bowser and the local government, and we have been able to remove thousands of illegal aliens from the District of Columbia, where you all live. So you can thank President Trump for that. The murder rate in Washington, D.C. has plummeted as a result. There were no riots. There were no protests. Nobody was tragic.
Why don't you go back to enjoying my program from the clouds, Goofy? From the clouds. Do me that good solid. Do me that good solid.
Killed as a result of that level of cooperation between federal and local authorities. And again, that's all the president is asking for in Minnesota. It's totally common sense. Jared, go ahead.
You're the problem. You're the problem, Yolanda. You just don't know it. You're the problem. I wish y'all would start to see that you're the problem. I wish you all would see that you're the problem. Immigrants aren't the problem. You're the problem.
Process, you continue to describe the situation in Minneapolis as chaos. Was there any mistake made by Secretary Noem that led the president to send Mr. Homan there?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Did Secretary Noem make a mistake which led to?
She made any mistake that could lead the president to send Mr. Homan to Minneapolis?
No, as I already mentioned, Mr. Homan has been working alongside Secretary Noem and for the president over the course of the last year. And again, he's uniquely positioned to hop on a flight to Minnesota today to continue this correspondence with state and local authorities, and that's what he's going to be doing.
Every country.
Is it the White House's position that Americans have the right to show up to these ICE operations and film?
It's our First Amendment right to film whatever we want to film. It was Alex's First Amendment right to film what he was filming and not engage with anybody else. It was Alex's First Amendment right in which he was practicing, and he ended up dead for it.
Document or protest the law enforcement actions?
All Americans have a First Amendment constitutional right, of course, but Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede and obstruct.
So we already know that Alex didn't impede or obstruct, yet he died anyway.
Lawful immigration enforcement operations. That is actually a crime, and it's something that we've seen taking place in the streets of Minneapolis, which again is leading to these dangerous circumstances that these federal law enforcement officers have been forced to work within.
Back to the call with Governor Walz this morning, the president described it as respectful. He said we seem to be on a similar wavelength, but you had strong criticism for the governor and the Minneapolis mayor Jacob Frey just now. So could you?
That doesn't have anything to do with anything. He can do whatever he feels like walking in the middle of. He was not in the middle of anybody doing anything. You don't get to push around everyday Americans and nobody says anything. And that's not punishable by death. That's what y'all don't get. You keep making excuses for his death. You keep making excuses for his death. There is no excuse for the death. That's what we keep trying to tell you. But you apparently don't understand what it means that he's not supposed to have died. I don't understand what the fuck is going on with some of y'all goofy freaks. You keep coming in here giving excuses for the man dying. There's no excuse for the police to pull out a gun and give him 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 knockers to the back. Nobody's making excuses for criminals. He wasn't a criminal. That's the problem. That's the problem. He wasn't a criminal. When did anybody say that Alex was a criminal, Goofy? Nobody said he was a criminal. He wasn't described as a criminal. He was described as a nurse. What in the hell are you talking about?
His True Social post, and I think some of the criticisms that you just levied from the podium.
You don't deserve to die, Black America. Don't talk about the bullshit. Don't come to me with the bullshit. You know better. Y'all know better. We ain't talking about illegal aliens. We're talking about a man who was an American. Stop trying to make it about illegal aliens. We didn't say nothing about illegal aliens. We said Alex.
Fran, I think the criticisms that I laid out, I'm painting the picture for all of you in this room, are what led to the moment that we are in today, where Governor Walz and President Trump are having a conversation, a constructive and productive conversation to end the chaos and the lawlessness that has taken place in Governor Walz's state. Chris, Elena.
Thank you. I had a question. With Homan now going to Minnesota, is Gregory Bovino also going to remain in Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
And to follow up, given what we've heard from several Trump administration officials, people like Stephen Miller, as people point out, calling him a domestic terrorist, Bovino saying that Preddy was out to massacre law enforcement. Why not require ICE agents to wear body cameras to clear up some of the disputes that we are hearing from witnesses and video footage versus what the administration has been saying?
Well, that's a policy question that I know the policy folks in the building are having with members on Capitol Hill, and I'll leave it to them and the president to make that decision.
And my final question is on, you were talking about the level of cooperation that the president talked about with Governor Walz. Will the administration commit to cooperating with local officials on this investigation into Alex Preddy?
The president spoke about this with Governor Walz and said he would have a discussion about it. He did not make a commitment, and so therefore I won't make that commitment here. I would just remind all of you in the media, because I've seen a lack of reporting on this fact, there are investigations into what took place on Saturday. The Homeland Security investigations and the FBI have teamed up for an investigation, and there's also an internal CBP investigation, an internal review of what is happening on the ground in Minnesota. The president supports those investigations, and as I've said repeatedly, he wants to see them move forward. Phil.
FBI Director Kash Patel said in a Sunday interview, quote, "You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest." Does the president believe the Second Amendment rights remain in effect even when protesting?
The president supports the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens. Absolutely. There has been no greater supporter or defender of the right to bear arms than President Donald J. Trump.
No. Because you got goofies in the chat talking about he shouldn't have had a gun. We got goofies in the chat talking about he should never had a gun. He never pulled a gun. He never pulled a gun. He was disarmed and they took the gun. And then, right then, as soon as old boy, one of the police officers saw that he didn't have a gun, the officer pulled out his gun and then shot him. That's what happened in broad daylight. We watched it. It wasn't no AI. Oh, no, it wasn't no AI. That was the truth, because it's many angles.
So while Americans have a constitutional right to bear arms, Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede lawful immigration enforcement operations. And any gun owner knows that when you are carrying a weapon, when you are bearing arms and you are confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. And again, that's unfortunately what took place on Saturday.
There she go lying again. There she go lying again. There she go lying on that man's name again. You lying on that man's name.
Will his mission continue to be focusing on illegal immigrants with a criminal history, or will it be on illegal immigration generally?
Mr. Homan will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws, especially deporting the worst of the worst criminals in Minnesota who have committed violent offenses. And I would just remind all of you that this important work is continuing to be carried out. In just the last few days, I'm happy to provide this packet to anyone in the room. ICE has arrested multiple violent criminals, illegal aliens.
You a motherfucking lie.
Many of them have convictions.
You a motherfucking lie. We're not gonna let you lie on Alex. We're not gonna let you lie on that boy. We ain't gonna let you lie on that boy. Ain't nobody gonna lie. Not in this damn chat. You ain't gonna lie on that boy. Hold on.
For assault, driving under the influence, fraud. This individual here I'm looking at was an aggravated felon with multiple convictions for larceny, fraud, and forgery of checks, vehicle theft, drug possession, domestic assault, inflicting bodily harm on another, criminal convictions of larceny, identity theft, again, charged with driving.
Hold on. You wait right there. You wait right there, Goofy. You wait right there. Hold on. Let me show it to you. Because I got to show it to y'all again because some of y'all just slow like that, right? This is the videotape right here. Here we go.
That's how this.
This is what they saying happened. Lying ass motherfuckers. This is what they saying happened. Hold on. Here we go. Not that video. Where's that one video? Let me get to the right video. Because these are three different videos we showing. Okay, here we go. Let's start from here.
Show federal agent shoving a person with Preddy then stepping in. That's when an agent pepper sprays him in the face while Preddy clutches his phone. Seconds later, several agents wrestle Preddy to the ground, where videos do not appear to show him brandishing a weapon, as DHS had stated. This angle showing an officer swing something at Preddy's head,
right?
Pushing in on.
You see this right here? You see the dude in the green in his jacket right here? This guy is reaching for Alex's gun. This guy is grabbing Alex's gun. This guy is the one who actually shoots Alex. This guy is grabbing Alex's gun.
This video.
Watch. You see the circle? That's old boy in the gray jacket taking his gun out of the back of his pants. His holster. They're taking the gun out of his holster. Where's the Goofy who's talking about that ain't what I saw? Brian Goofy. They're taking the gun out of his back of his pants. This guy that's standing up right here. Yeah.
You can see one agent.
You see that? You see him taking the gun out of the back? Because I see him taking the gun out of his back.
Reach behind Preddy, appearing to remove a gun from his waistband.
Took the gun from his waistband. Yeah. And then you see him put his hand on his hip? You see the dude put his hand on his hip to grab his gun out? Where was he grabbing? Where is the angle that shows you that that man was reaching for a clip? Why would he need to reach for a clip? You looking at the videotape right here, Black America. You reaching for the videotape right. You listening to the videotape right here, Black America. Look at the fucking videotape. We're gonna go back. Because you Goofy saying some shit.
At Preddy's head, pushing in on this video.
Right here.
Video.
I see him.
You can see one.
You see him grabbing the gun. That's why the circle is there, to show that he grabbed the gun.
Agent reached behind Preddy, appearing to remove a gun from his waistband.
Right. Now, you see him put the gun on his hand on his own gun. He's the one who shoots him in the back. Where's the threat?
Someone yells gun.
Boom.
That same agent appears to step away, and about a second later, the first shot is fired, followed by a flurry of gunshots.
Call an ambulance, please.
I think the key detail is, were the agents under the imminent threat of death or great bodily harm? And nowhere in that video does it show that he pointed a gun at them, brandished a gun at them.
Of course he didn't. He didn't. Because they lied.
This video appear to show a different or contradicting sequence of events. Footage seen from a sidewalk, the street, inside a store, oh my God! And from a car just feet away. Videos show federal agents shoving a person with Preddy then stepping in. That's when an agent pepper sprays him in the face while Preddy clutches his phone. Seconds later, several agents wrestle Preddy to the ground, where videos do not appear to show him brandishing a weapon, as DHS had stated. This angle showing an officer swing something at Preddy's head.
Hey, God.
Pushing in on this video, you can see one agent reach behind Preddy, appearing to remove a gun from his waistband.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we see him grabbing for the weapon, all right. We see all that. But y'all keep saying, he had a weapon. He had a weapon. He had a magazine. He had a magazine. It don't matter. He can have a gun, a magazine, anything he wants to in his pocket. He can have anything. I can have a bomb in my pocket. I can have anything in my pocket that I want to. I didn't have a chance to pull it out. Nobody had a chance to pull it out. Nobody had a chance to reach for it. He didn't reach for it. He didn't do anything. They took the gun out of the back of his pants. They showed that. And before the man who took his gun away walked away, we saw him step in. We saw him turn around, Black America. We saw him turn around. That's still no excuse to shoot the man. That's what you don't understand. Why didn't they arrest him? Why did they shoot him? You keep saying, he stepped in, he stepped in, he stepped in. That doesn't matter. He still wasn't supposed to be shot. Y'all keep saying that like that means anything. That means nothing.
Influence. These are extremely dangerous people who Governor Walz and Mayor Frey have allowed to roam on their streets. And all the president is asking for is cooperation to arrest individuals like this and deport them from the United States of America. I'll take a couple more. Go ahead.
Okay, so this weekend the president posted that this is a cover-up of the fraud in the state of Minnesota. He also posted Minnesota is a cover-up. These both happened after the shooting.
They're trying to cover up. They're trying to cover up a murder. That's what they're trying to cover up. A murder. And it doesn't matter what I was doing. I wasn't able to do anything. I was on the ground getting fucked up. That's wild. Just wild.
So given that these came after the shooting, what is the this here? What is the cover-up he's alleging?
Yes, it's a good question. I've spoken with the president about this at length. What the president is referring to is the fact that you have Governor Walz and, again, the mayor, who have been encouraging these left-wing agitators to come out and to harass and to dox and to threaten ICE and to make this conversation about and smear lies about federal law enforcement who, again, are just trying to do their jobs in an attempt to distract from the wide.
So y'all honestly believe they were trying to do their jobs when they murdered that man on the ground? Y'all honestly believe they were doing their job when they pulled the gun out and shot that man? You got 6 of them motherfuckers on top of me, beating me up, and then somebody take my gun, and then you shoot me 2 seconds after you get my gun? You think that's how law enforcement is supposed to be going? You think that's how it's supposed to go? That's wild. Just justification for murder. Murder. Did he deserve to get shot 6, 7, 8, 9 times? I mean, I didn't know there was some kind of murder charge for stepping in. I didn't know it was some kind of murder charge for getting sprayed in the face with pepper spray. I didn't know there was a murder charge. I didn't know you got executed right on the spot because you stood in front of somebody. I didn't know that was supposed to happen. That's how goofy y'all sound when you come up with the excuse about him deserving. He stood in front of him. He intervened. You sound goofy as hell if you say he is justified for them to kill him. He had it coming, idiot. Get your ass out of my chat. I can't talk to dumb motherfuckers. I hate dumb motherfuckers. That's the point. The point is no logic. When I find out you don't have no reasonable skills and you don't have no reasoning skills beyond that talking point, you got to get the fuck on.
spread massive fraud that has taken place in their state. Billions and billions of dollars has been stolen from law-abiding taxpayers in Minnesota, and the administration continues to be very focused on getting to the bottom of it, and especially, the president raised a good question over the weekend with respect to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who now has a net worth within the millions, and one must ask themselves why and how.
We've been out here. None of you maggots say nothing about the Second Amendment rights ever again. You better not say nothing about somebody being able to carry a gun ever again. You better not say not a damn thing. You maggots better not say nothing about no Second Amendment and people carrying a gun. Not one damn thing. Ever again.
She connected to the fraud rings that we have seen taking place within her state and her own district. It's a question the American people are raising, and the president believes it's one worth answering. Haley.
Thanks, Caroline. I want to go back to some of the comments from Stephen Miller and Secretary Noem. You've made clear the president wants to see the investigation play out. When answering some of the questions on the specific details, is he concerned that some of those definitive statements made by other officials risks public perception of the credibility of those investigations now playing out?
Again, the president believes that these investigations are credible, they are continuing, they are active, and he wants to let them play out. Alex.
Caroline, is the administration willing to separate DHS funding from other funding bills in order to avoid a broader shutdown?
Look, at this point, the White House supports the bipartisan work that was done to advance the bipartisan appropriations package, and we want to see that passed. Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions as evidenced by his correspondence with Governor Walz this morning, but that should not be at the expense of government.
Sometimes I listen to you, but you sound dumb as hell today. Democrats are the one who want to take guns away. You're the one who argued to take the guns away. You're the one that's arguing that he shouldn't have had his gun. Don't flip that on us. You're the one who said that. What the fuck are you arguing about? What are you talking about? We sitting here arguing, saying he has the Second Amendment right to have it, and now you on some goofy track talking about he shouldn't have brought the gun. What are you talking about?
Government funding for the American people, which would include, as you know, Alex, FEMA funding, and we are in the midst of the storm that took place over the weekend, and many Americans are still being impacted by that. So we absolutely do not want to see that funding lapse, and we want the Senate to move forward with passing the bipartisan appropriations package that was negotiated on a bipartisan basis.
Secondly, there's another round of Russia-Ukraine talks this weekend, Sunday. If you can walk us through with the president, how he would be involved in that, if at all. We'll be talking to President Putin, President Zelensky ahead of those meetings.
I'm not tracking any scheduled calls at this point in time. However, the president remains deeply involved, and of course, he's being apprised by his advisors, namely Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Witkoff, on these talks. They had a multilateral meeting this past weekend, which didn't get a ton of coverage, but that was historic in nature, where the president's team has really brought two sides of this war to the table together to move the ball closer towards peace. So the president is not giving up on the peace process. He obviously just met with President Zelensky when we were in Davos, Switzerland, but I'm not tracking any calls scheduled for this week. On one more foreign policy point, I will point out, as you all saw, the last remaining body of the hostages, Israeli hostages in Gaza, has been returned. This is a huge foreign policy feat for the President of the United States, for the state of Israel, and frankly, for the whole world. The president made the impossible possible. And so it's great news for the president, for the United States, for our allies, and also for peace in the Middle East. And I understand that more than 20 new additional countries have also signed up to join the newly established Board of Peace with respect to the rebuilding of Gaza, which is another historic accomplishment for this president. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you in Iowa tomorrow.
So the question is, you gonna believe the same story, or you gonna do your own deciphering? We've seen the video. Everybody has seen the video. That man, they took that gun from that man. They took that gun from him. They took it from him. It don't matter whether he had magazines in his pocket. It don't matter what he had in his pocket. They took it away from him. And they shot him a couple seconds later. without asking them why you got a gun, bro? Well, what's going on? You ain't got a gun. No, they cheered when they killed that man. They cheered. It was an officer on the sidewalk clapping. He took his gun out and shot 3, 4, 5. They shot him 8 times. That don't compute to me. It was not excessive. All of them should go to jail. All of them should go to jail. Just like when 10 people run it, when one person runs into a store and robs a store, and there's somebody outside in the car waiting, everybody that was there should be charged with murder. Everybody there charged with murder. Otherwise, a whole bunch of you white folks gonna keep dying because we black folks ain't in the street like that. We ain't in the street like that because we know better. They've been killing us and getting away with it. Now it's y'all turn to find out what it feels like to get away with getting murdered. Now it's y'all turn. Y'all can end this shit if you want to. You can end it. You can pressure those no good Republicans who don't do jack shit in the Senate and the House. You can pressure those motherfuckers to put an end to this. Okay? You can put an end to it all day if you want to. This is the deciding factor. The white folks can put an end to this shit. Otherwise, more white folks gonna die. Because all y'all white folks out there, all y'all out there, we ain't out there. So we ain't gonna die. It's gonna be you white folks out there dying. So y'all better get to work. Chop, chop. Put pressure on your Republican senators and House members. Because they're the one who's in charge. They're the one who's in charge, and they're the ones who got a sway and a say. And 5 of them, wait a minute, how many? 16 of them can stop this right now. 16. Okay. And right now we're already going to the point where we're gonna vote all of y'all's ass out. Every one of you Republicans is gonna get voted out because you're useless otherwise. Just useless otherwise. You let this president get away with this reckless behavior. You let ICE get away with this reckless behavior. You're going to be voted out. It is what it is. But y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back. We have more content, but later on. I'll be back. Of course I'll be back. We always going to be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back.